Okay, good evening, everyone. Calling to order the El Monte City School District Board of Education meeting for Monday, June 5th at 5:03 p.m. All right. Thank you, everyone in the audience, for being here today as we have quite a few celebrations. All right, we're now going to do roll call, starting with Ms. Cobian.
Present.
Next, we have Ms. Flores is not able to be here with us today. Next, we have Ms. Rivas,
Present.
Mr. Segrist,
Present.
and Mendez Garcia present. At this point, we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. You can put your hand over your heart. I will begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. At this point, we're going to jump right in with the American Legion School Awards.
Good afternoon, President Mendez Garcia, governing board members, and welcome to the El Monte City School District Board meeting. The timing couldn't have been any better. This is a wonderful award, the most prestigious award that we present to students every single year. And one of our partners is here from the American Legion Post-State, Mr. Jay Morales, who just happened to walk in, like I said, perfect timing to present this award. So while he gets ready, I do want to take this opportunity to thank you all for just a terrific school year. I know that we have all of our wonderful 8th graders in the room that are going to be promoting soon. Can you please stand so we can recognize you? I am confident that these are the students that we're going to see on, well, maybe newspapers is dating myself, on all the latest websites, social media, everywhere else that reports how wonderful our El Monte City School District students have gone on to do great things for this world. So, Mr. Morales, when you're ready, come on up. We're ready to give out some awards and celebrate students. Are you? Perfect. I'll turn it over to Mr. Morales.
Apologize because I should have been here an hour ago and been here.
May I later give a little speech on the Legion and who we are?
Oh, of course. One of your members, David Segrist, is a Legionnaire from El Monte. Distinguished El Monte City School District Board of Directors, members of the audience, parents, and recipients. It is my honor and my privilege to put on this Legion cap for the first time in over a year. In fact, the last time I wore it was last year for this event, which is nationally the most prestigious award that the oldest organization, the largest veterans organization in the country, the American Legion, presents to its students. This award was started in the 1930s by a national resolution in the state of New York and then became national. It came to California in 1939, and Post 8 of the American Legion, the oldest American Legion post in Los Angeles County, we just celebrated our 103rd birthday here in May, the 20th of May, was honored and privileged to present this award to the Columbia School. And I visited here twice before, and I noticed a stone on the wall of the school district that said Columbia School was erected in 1923, so you're 100 years old. And congratulations for 100 years of being here, more than that actually, but we'll be celebrating 100 years next year at Patriotic Hall in Los Angeles, where Post 8 is headquartered. But I just wanted to say to all of you that for me, I live in Nevada, but I get treated for medical treatments here at West Los Angeles, and so I'm here half the time in California. But for me, El Monte is very special. The very first job I ever had in banking was right here in El Monte with the old United California Bank in what used to be the Tyler Avenue Shopping Mall. next to the Sears, when the Sears used to be here in El Monte. And that's going to date me a little bit, but it's also going to let me know that a few years ago, back in the May 23rd of 2019, I received an award for 40 years. So today is the 45th year. So anybody here under the age of 45, I've been giving this award every year since 1978, 79. The very first time I gave this award, I was the guest of Byron Thompson, superintendent of the school district, and Principal Jeff Seymour, which became the superintendent the next following year. And Jeff and Mr. Thompson were very gracious in telling me this was going to be a special occasion. It was for a young 30-year-old, 30-plus, back then, fresh out of the Marine Corps and having worked in El Monte, I didn't know what to expect. We used to give the awards individually to every school, the 7 schools back then, or the 6 schools back then, and Columbia was the first. And when I saw a room just like this, packed with 5th, 6th, and 7th graders, the 8th graders getting ready to graduate to go into the high schools, and I saw the parents behind the stage, it impressed me like I've never been impressed by anything in my life, but this is what school and scholarship was all about. Each and every one of you parents of the students that are about to receive this award, be aware that it took a special and very courageous thing for your children, your sons and daughters, to receive this award, because not everyone gets it. Less than 1% of the total population of the school districts of this country receive this award. It's getting scarcer and scarcer. But it's very important because it distinguishes your child as they go on to further education. In the 1930s, the highest that you could aspire to was to finish junior high school to go to high school. Colleges were out of the question because it was the Great Depression, and that greatest generation was focused not so much on education as on surviving. And so to receive that award and to create that award and to present that award, it took a lot of courage for that student to receive it. And that's part of the 6 words that are inscribed in the medallion that your son and your daughter are going to show you after they receive it. Service, service to the community. Scholarship. Patriotism. Courtesy. Those are some of the things that this award is emblematic of. And by the way, you don't have to be the smartest student. You don't have to be the most popular. And it's not just the teachers who select the students, their own student body peers get to vote on who they believe exemplifies the courage, the scholarship, the service to the community, the patriotism, Americanism, and the respect that is inscribed on that medallion. So this is a huge honor. A month ago, I came back to California and I walked into Dr. Garcia's office and I said, I'm going to be back because it's been rough. Besides being June being my birthday month, in 15 more days, I turn another page of another year. I never thought I would make it this long and this far. And the little guy that used to give the award with me, he never thought year to year that he would make it. Unfortunately, during the COVID crisis, at the age of 94, he passed away. I'm 80, I'm pushing 81 soon, and I never thought I would make it this far. I'm a cancer survivor, June, among other things, is also Cancer Survivor Month. And I've had to undergo some of that from the effects of the Vietnam War. But all that set aside, the primary reason that I'm here is to honor you, the students, the young men and young ladies who are our future. And for you parents, yes, I was in that school when we presented the award, and a young man walked up to me and said, well, I was almost going to make it. I didn't make it, but I would like to go on and to other programs, and he became a Boys State candidate and delegate from El Monte, who later became an attorney, who is now in the city attorney's office, and became the mayor of the city of El Monte, Andre Quintero. I also counseled in the summertime at Boys State for years. I'm emeritus now, but it was a privilege for me when I went to Boys State, and it was a privilege for Andre, and he became a mayor of El Monte, and I knew him then. I didn't know until she reminded me, but Superintendent Dr. Maribel Garcia's sister at Columbia School received the award for me back when she was graduating from Columbia School. And Maribel was a runner-up. But I enjoyed that too. I'm looking at the future. A multi-diverse, a multicultural, a multi-beautiful campus and city and education system that it's my honor to be here to present this award to. On behalf of the American Legion, and I know that Mr. Segrist wants to say something about the American Legion, and rightly so, as your elected official, so I'm going to let him speak on that behalf. Come on, David.
There's so much to say. The background of the American Legion, we need to know about that. After World War I, when the veterans, including my grandfather, came back after 267 days in combat, there was no service for veterans. They had to fight to get veterans benefits, which they did. Now, these World War I veterans during the 1930s, as was mentioned, the Great Depression, there was a problem in this country, not just the Depression. There were two major groups that were going after the young people, just like you. One group was the American Communist Party. The other one was the German-American Bund, the Nazi Party, and they were recruiting children just like you. So what happened was the American Legion said, we got to do something about this. So we started the American Legion program, Legion Awards. There's a program that all of you can consider when you're in 11th grade. If you apply for the Samson Scholarship, look it up and you'll find out what it is. I joined the American Legion because my grandpa said I had to, so I did. I served in the Navy, the Army, Marines. I served for the best country in the world, imperfect as it is. And as has been pointed out, you are the future of this country. Don't think that it's not worthwhile your time to go into the military. If you go into the academies, you get a four-year education, a $200,000 education that you earn by being in the service. There's a brand new one called the Space Force. Now, when you get to 11th grade, think about applying at your high schools. Our high school district is unique. We send boys to Boys State, girls to Girls State. What is it? It's a program. In fact, they're coming up already this month. You go to Sacramento State University, you learn about politics, government, self-development, and I will cite, and I will close shortly. One of the young men that we sent to Boys State from Arroyo High School, very quiet, not too self-assured. He came back totally changed. His mom phoned me and she said, "What did you do to our son?" I said, "What did we do?" She said, "Yes, now he's outgoing. He argues with his dad, debates everybody, became the president of the student body at Arroyo High School because of Boys State." If you think about this, there's a famous American, Bill Clinton. He went to Boys State from Arkansas. When he came back, he told his mother, I'm going to run for president. She said, you have to be insane. We're poor. We don't have the background to send you there. He became president of the United States. Neil Armstrong, you might have heard of him, an astronaut. He went to Boise State. Some of the people in our district, the high school district, for example, the Mrs. Robin Torres, assistant superintendent, she went to Girls State. So many people that we know have gone there. It's a great thing. Also, if any of you can trace your ancestry back to World War I, believe it or not, my grandpa, because it was World War I, permitted, because of his service, my daughter to apply for a scholarship called the Laverne Noy Scholarship, $5,000. She won it 5 times. She was the only applicant. The American Legion exists because we want to protect our country. And as has been pointed out, you are the future, not just your own, but the future of our country. So I really am so proud of all of you on behalf of the American Legion, El Monte Post 261. I'm the 3rd vice chairman. I'm in education, as you can tell. Education is your key to everything. And as a famous American, you might have heard of Jaime Escalante, who I sat with for an hour, who said, the future is in your hands, give it all you can. And again, we appreciate all of you and your families. Your parents and family deserve hugs from you because they help make you who you are. Thank you.
Now, without any further ado, and please forgive me, among my other medical conditions, I have bad lungs, so I have to take deep breaths sometimes. But I'm hanging in there. And so without any further ado, we're going to get on to this. But before, he was mentioning some names about Boise State and the importance. Your mayor was one of my assistants when I was a counselor at Boise State. I went to Boise State as a counselor and served for almost 20 years, from the 1970s to the 1990s. But the reason was because my father, when I was in high school, said, my friend Ray Dawson has been hearing his post, the City Hall post of Los Angeles is going to sponsor you. You're going to Boise State. And I lived in East Los Angeles, and I didn't know what Boise State was all about in Boyle Heights. I thought he was sending me to a reform school for the summer. And then I went back in the summer of '59, and it changed my life. So I just want you to know that what Mr. Segrist is talking about is very important. But it begins today right here with this school award. Because every young lady and every young man that's receiving this award has one step closer and can go to Mr. Segrist and ask for and apply through the internet to be a delegate from El Monte, your respective high schools, for the Boise State and Girls State programs. And I can't say enough about it. Without further ado, let's get on. We have 6 schools, so who do we start with first?
We are going to start with honorable mentions this evening.
Okay.
And so if you'd like to join us in the middle there, Mr. Morales, along with our board members, I'm going to call names up. We're going to give students the opportunity to come on up. We're going to celebrate them, and then we'll invite parents to come up and take some pictures as well. So as you can tell, we're very passionate about this award, and we all want to say lots and lots of things. I mean, in years past, before COVID, we would have just really go out and celebrate this award. And so we brought it here to our board meeting to celebrate as a community. And so I just want to once again emphasize the importance of this award and just know how prestigious it is, and more importantly, how proud we are of each and every student that we'll be calling up. And so I will begin with Rio Hondo School. Our first honorable mention is Sarah Tran Nguyen. You want to stand?
Yeah, I don't want anyone to fall.
Also from Rio Hondo School, Catalina Sao. From Columbia School, Jenny Nguyen. From Columbia School, Alexander Sanchez. From Durfee School, London Lopez. From Durfee School, Sebastian Guzman. From Gidley School, Meilani Moreno. From Gidley School, Ryan Alessi. From Potrero School, Jemsi Reyes. From Potrero School, Brianna Gutierrez. From Frank Wright School, Thomas Wynn. And from Frank Wright School, Kimberly Gonzalez de Santiago. Please join me in recognizing Kimberly as she makes her way up, and also our honorable mentions for 22-23 school year. Yeah.
I saw them, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Be sure to smile, you'll be on Facebook.
Heads in between heads. Your tallest head coming back right behind you. Morales, go. All right, everybody. Smile right there. We're doing I'm cutting in front of parents, sorry. All right, everybody. 1, 2, and 3. Very nice. A couple more right here. We're good.
Okay, wait there for a few seconds so the parents can get theirs.
And there will be an opportunity for more photos afterwards, just an FYI. So. Right.
Congratulations. Good job.
All right, we're moving on to the American Legion Award winners. And I will read this in further recognition of the possession of those high qualities of courage, honor, leadership, patriotism, scholarship, and service, which are necessary to the preservation and protection of the fundamental institutions of our government and the advancement of society. The following students embody those characteristics and more. Beginning with Frank Wright School, Wayne Hin. Destiny Thong, Frank Wright School. From Potrero School, Eduardo Lopez. From Potrero School, Jack Fen Jian Juan.
Remember, never say you can't, always say I can, and I will. God bless.
From Gidley School, Caroline Nan.
Proud of you.
From Durfee School, Marcus Kuo.
You're looking really good. Proud of you. Really.
From Gidley School, Matthew Tran.
Really proud of you.
From Durfee School, Yi Wen Chen.
This is for you.
From Columbia School, Sashayli Mora Castro. From Columbia School, Giselle Ruiz.
We're proud of you.
From Rio Hondo School, Justin Jan Lang Lo.
Very proud of you.
And also from Rio Hondo School, Sofia Isabela Valenzuela. Let's give our American Legion winners a big round of applause. We're going to be taking a group picture, and then we also have an area set up for additional pictures that we'd like families to participate or feel free to take pictures. We're going to take a short recess after that, and then we'll continue with our board meeting. Oh, and there's snacks. Okay. Yes.
Teresa, who's doing the LCAP presentation? Okay, are you going first or budget? Me.
As we're transitioning, I know that we have a few of our administrators in the room. If I can please have you stand so we can acknowledge you in shepherding these wonderful students throughout their time here in the El Monte City School District. Thank you, administrators. And at this time, we'll take a brief recess. Feel free to continue taking pictures. There's an area set up for you to do so. Also some snacks and an adjacent room right outside of our boardroom. And you're welcome to continue to join us for the remainder of the board meeting. Thank you.
Okay, all right. We are back from break to resume our El Monte City School District Board of Education meeting Monday, June 5th at 5:54 p.m. We are in items of interest, number 2, LCAP and budget presentation.
Thank you, President Mendez Garcia, Governing Board, community members. It's my pleasure to introduce to you this evening our Local Control Accountability Plan. The local control funding formula is our educational funding system in the state of California, with its primary goal and focus being to provide equitable funding to school districts in order to eliminate gaps in student opportunity and student achievement. It provides us with both base funding and additional supplemental and concentration funding based on our enrollment of unduplicated students that include our foster youth, our homeless, and our socioeconomically disadvantaged students. 63% of our total budget, it comes from local control funding, with an additional 16% in federal funding, 16% in state, and 4.5% of local funds that create our total funding for the El Monte City School District, which Ms. Margaret will be going over shortly. So as part of receiving this local control funding, we are required to have a local control accountability plan. And it's a strategic plan that supports 8 state priorities that include engagement of students and parents, conditions of learning, and student outcomes. Our plan has to describe how we will be, or how our goals, our actions, and our expenditures will address our local needs and the state priorities. So our plan has 4 goals that we focus on that address the state priorities and our local needs, with goal number 1 being to increase student achievement. Student growth and academic achievement are at the center of our vision, our mission, and our core values. We want student growth, academic performance, and positive personal development. Those are our highest measures of our student and district success. And when we look at the data that we collected, both through surveys and our various groups that we met with, this continues to be an area of priority that has been identified. So the metrics for Goal 1, increasing student achievement, come from our state testing, so our SBAC and ALPAC testing. It includes our local assessments from iReady, our reclassification rates, and then again, the implementation of state standards. Looking at some of these, one of the difficulties we had creating our baseline the year before last for our LCAP, looking at our SBAC scores, was that we did not have current SBAC scores. Our most current scores were from the 2018-19 school year. And so we created a baseline based on how things were going back then, and then looking at our local assessments as well. So here we have our baseline being 51.5 and 40%, with our outcomes being just shy of where we wanted to be, and it's an area that we will continue to work on. If you look at our percentage of students, of English learners, making progress towards English language proficiency on our summative LPAC, you'll see our baseline was 8.7%, and our year 2 outcome was 46.9%. So our English learners are doing quite well. These are our actions. Goal 1 being to increase student achievement has the most actions, and this is one of our biggest priorities. And it includes improving our Tier 1 instruction, providing professional development to meet the differentiated needs of our students, providing technology to support instruction, data-driven decision-making, and so on, supporting our English learners, strengthening instruction through coaching, modeling, those are our TOSAs, providing access to school libraries, those are our librarians, and also the librarian budgets. Our gifted and talented program. You might see on here in the area of contributing, that indicates that these actions are contributing to the improved services for our unduplicated population. So they're principally directed to our unduplicated students of foster youth, homeless, and socioeconomically disadvantaged. You might see in some of our actions also that there are 0 expenditures that actually took place, and that is due to one-time funding that we have. So it's not that the action did not take place, it's that the funding came from a different source with our one-time funds that we have, such as ESSER funding. Again, we have 16 actions in Goal 1, and so it includes our intervention teachers, AVID classes, our extended school year for our special education students, providing access to our core curriculum, those are our instructional assistants that we have in the classroom, providing oral language development support, our summer school intervention and enrichment programs. And you see on that one where it was estimated that we would spend about almost 3 million. Most of that is now getting funded out of ELOP funding, with only part of it being funded out of LCAP funding at this time. So our analysis of Goal 1, it was fully implemented, all of the actions that we had created for this goal. Material differences between what we budgeted and what we actually expended is primarily the result of additional funding sources that we have. So far, we have been effective in supporting our intended outcomes, and you'll see that we did add one metric, which is our CAST, which is our California Standards test that will now be tracked as part of our metrics as well. For Goal 2, the goal is to ensure learner engagement. And so this is to ensure that we have regular school attendance, that students feel that they have a safe place to go to school, they feel encouraged and motivated to maximize their academic potential. And again, this continues to be a priority that has been identified by our educational partners. Our metrics for this mostly come from our the dashboard with our chronic absenteeism report, our attendance rate here in the district, and then we take a lot also from our California Healthy Kids survey. And you'll note the percentage of 5th and 7th grade students who feel safe at school, our baseline being 82% for 5th grade and 79%. In our outcome, it's actually a little bit lower than our baseline was. And so we did have a group of our Ed Services team actually go out to the sites and conduct some focus groups to find out a little bit more about that. Is it that they don't feel safe at school, or what's taking place? And actually, the students actually shared in those groups that they do feel safe at school. It's getting to and from school, but they themselves feel safe. They feel they have a safe place with their teachers, with the staff members at their sites, and they feel that they have people that they can talk to at school. Also noted on here is that the percentage of staff who feel connected as a result of a supporting and inviting place to work. From our staff report, our baseline was 88%, and that has increased to 90% in this year's survey. So the actions that fall under learner engagement include implementing an attendance incentive system, making personal connections with families. Those are our attendance clerks, providing Saturday school, our outreach consultants, our health services staff, and then providing support to our homeless and foster youth and our counselors and social workers as well.
Can I just ask real quick, because I know the chronic absenteeism was significantly higher.
Yes.
Is that due to illness or other factors, mental health, things like that?
So we've always had a great chronic absenteeism rate in our district. This is due to pandemic-related issues. So if students were sick, we asked parents to keep their child at home if they had certain symptoms, and our parents did what we asked them to do. And so we do see the results of that in this. And so now it's, coming back to our new normal and, coming back to school. And we do see an increase. We do see more students participating in Saturday Learn Academy. We do see our attendance improving. And so when we compared chronic absenteeism rates with other districts, 18% was actually on the lower end. There were much higher in other areas. And so, we constantly had communication with our families. We were providing as many supports as possible during the pandemic. And so we look forward to that, decreasing over time. Additional actions include providing Tier 3 interventions, implementing our Leader in Me program, expanding our after-school program. You'll note that nothing was expended out of there, and that again is funded out of our ELAP funding. Providing tiered positive behavior supports, and then our Jeff Seymour family staff. So we did hire some board-certified behavior analysts, and we also had behavior intervention aides that helped to support in the classroom this year. So looking at Goal 2, it was fully implemented. Again, the material differences between what was budgeted and what was expended is due to additional funding sources. And then we are removing goal or action 211, which is to expand after-school sports programs, because that is now on the ELAP side and will be funded from our expanded learning opportunity funds.
I have a question about, could you go back about, it says expanded after-school sports program removed. We're not going to increase it, or what does that mean?
Because it is going to be funded out of our ELAP funding,
Okay.
we removed it from the LCAP, but it's still an action within ELAP. It's just not as part of the LCAP funding.
And do we have a list of those programs, after-school sports? Because I think the one that is missing is golf. If we have golf,
We do
if
have-
not, we could add it.
Thank you for that. Yes, we do have golf at a few of our sites. We're looking at expanding it, and the students have enjoyed it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Goal 3 is to increase parent and family engagement. We understand and we know that a strong homeschool connection and collaboration is essential for student success, and so we want to help build the capacity of our parents and strengthen our partnership with our parents as well. So our metrics from that come primarily from the California Parent Survey results. We have a great participation rate of about 75%. Many of our families do participate in our survey. On some areas of support are percentage of parents that indicate the school provides information on how they can help their child based on with their homework. That's an area that we will be focusing on for next year. And then percentage of parents reporting that school is a safe space. 95% of our parents feel that school is a safe space for their child, which is really great. And percentage of parents reporting that school encourages them to be active partners with their school and educating their child is 94%. So we want to continue to grow our partnership with our families. Some of our actions are our district level community liaison, our site level community liaisons that really bridge that partnership from school to home. Participation in that parent survey, we would love that to be up in the 90% range. We have our Parent Square access, and one area that we are going to continue to build on is providing parent workshops, building capacity of our parents to be parent leaders within our district so that they eventually are also providing workshops to other parents. And then we have our Chinese and Vietnamese community liaisons as well. So Goal 3 has been fully implemented. Again, any differences between budgeted and actual expenditures is due to additional funding sources. And at this time, there are no changes that have been made to this goal. And goal 4 is our final goal, and that's to maintain foundational supports. And so this ensures that our school environments are safe and conducive to learning, that we have fully credentialed teachers in the classroom, and that all of our curriculum is aligned to the California's Common Core state standards. Our metrics are that we have our fully credentialed teachers that are, looking at our Williams reports that our schools are in good repair, clean, and safe. That we're providing that broad course of study for students, and that the percentage of our students who feel connected to their schools. This is an area that has increased from our baseline year to last year. Has grown from 68% to 71% with our 5th grade and 61 to 62% with our 7th.
I have a question about that, about the credentials. I'm not aware of what the standards are now, but is there still a life credential? And if there is, do you still have to take classes? The credential now, is it renewable? And I just wonder, because I don't know.
The life credential no longer exists. We do have to renew the requirements for submitting your professional development, your classes. When you renew your credential is no longer there. They're just trusting that through your school district and so on, that you're continuing professional development, which we obviously do throughout the year here.
Okay, thank you.
And so our actions include attracting quality certificated staff. We have our beginning teacher program that we partner with LACO on. We provide supplemental materials, support well-maintained and secure facilities. We have our student information portal, and we provide personalized small group instruction. Again, ensuring a safe environment that supports school connectedness. That is our connection with our supervision assistants, who I will say are students indicated in those focus groups that they feel really close to our supervision assistants. Providing professional learning time, expanding our visual arts program, so that's our music program, and then providing technological support. This goal has been fully implemented, the same as the others. Any differences between budgeted and actual expenditures are primarily the result of additional funding resources, and no changes have been made to this goal. So, of our total LCFF funding, almost 41% of the funding was to increase or improve services, so our supplemental and concentration funding. What was actually expended was 37.32% of that funding, which leaves us with a carryover of $2.4 million that will come into our year 3 LCAP budget. We have engaged with a lot of educational partners throughout the year, including, there was an LCAP development roadshow, and so we had Roberto Lopez Mena and Lauren McLaren going from site to site with the site administrators presenting to our school staff. There's a LCAP advisory committee that meets. We met with students and teachers, principals, district administrators, and so on, our bargaining units, our parents, the SALPA administrators, our DLAC, and our key communicators. The themes that came out of all of those groups is to continue to provide intervention support for our students. That's what they would like to see. Increase high-quality evidence-based core instruction, increase professional development. That's for goal 1. In goal 2, they would like to see an increase in counseling services, behavioral supports, and after-school sports programming, which again will be part of our ELAP. For goal 3, increase school-level community liaison support. We want to improve that parent, guardian, caregiver programming. Increasing our parent leadership and providing parent square access. They would like to continue with that. And our theme from goal 4s were to maintain class size reduction in grades K through 3 for that small group instruction, support the well-maintained and secure school sites, and attracting and retaining quality certificated staff.
I have a question about that. When it says small group instruction, is there a certain number that qualifies for small group?
It has to do with our class size reduction. Our average for kindergarten through third grade is 24-1.
Okay, thank you.
These are all of the metrics that we've utilized to gather this data. And our next steps we brought it here tonight for our public hearing, to open it up for a public hearing, and then it'll come to the governing board for approval next Monday. And we'll submit it, there's an E left off of here, but we'll submit it to LACO on June the 16th if all goes well. I'd like to pay some recognition to Lauren McLaren and our engagement, our coordinator of engagement, and to Mr. Roberto Lopez Mena. I got emotional. Who has started officially with the Mountain View School District as their new assistant superintendent of human resources. So he did a lot of work on preparing this. And, I have to say that this has become a sample for other districts to use. LACO has really recognized the amount of work that goes into really including our educational partners and getting that feedback for our LCAP.
Thank you so much, Dr. Benedillo, for the presentation. Does the board have any questions or comments? I think we're good. All right. We're moving on to the adopted budget.
Yes, and as part of the approval process, we have a public hearing. At the next meeting, we'll have the adoption of both the LCAP and the budget. We're hitting the 10-year anniversary of LCFF. You heard about that in Dr. Pinel's LCAP presentation. Something that, a detail that's quite important, but we forget about it. LCFF got introduced in 2013. The LCAP got introduced in 2014, right? So that was really, the plane was being built while it was mid-flight, right? And so the LCAP is their narrative of all the great things we're going to be doing in the upcoming school year, and the budget transformed that into numbers. So with that, Ms. Margaret Lamb, our fiscal director, will be providing an update to the Board of Education on the 2023-24 adopted budget. When we bring the adopted budget in June, we also bring an update on our 2022-23 estimate. And we'll be working hard over the summer to close the books when we bring the final numbers back to the board. So with that, I'll turn over to Ms. Margaret Lamb so she can provide an update to the Board of Education and the community.
Hello. Yeah. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Garcia, members of the cabinet, and members of the public. Tonight, I'll be presenting the overview of the district's 23-24 adopted budget. So last March, we reviewed the 22-23 estimate, which includes the 23-24 to 2024-25. Today's focus will mostly be on the 2023-24 budget, and we'll add another year, 2025-26. The time passed really fast. About a month ago, the governor released his 2023-24 May revise, which we'll go into a little bit more detail in the later slide, which impacts the assumption used to build the budget that is before the board tonight. So the 23-24 budget includes all of the May revise as well as LACO's recommended assumption. This slide shows all of the district's funds and the general accounts. Majority of the district is coming from the general fund, which is about 84% of the revenue and about 88%. This is still the current year that we're in, the 2020-23 state fiscal year. It is showing us a surplus as a whole, and in the general fund, it's mainly due to the one-time revenue we received this year, some of the transfer to restricted program, and the bond issuance that we did last spring. The bond funds is expected to be spent across fiscal year. So even if we issued about like a little over 10 million last spring, we don't expect to use everything at once on the year that we issued, nor do we expect to use it for next year. Not all of it, I guess. In 22-23, we expect to close the books in the general fund with 184.8 million in revenues and 156.2 million in expenditure. The ending balance is estimated to be at 49.71% with 6.29 in unrestricted balances. In my succeeding slide, I'll show some of the state trends in the ending balances. So now we focus on the budget year, which is the 2023-24. In the 2024, it includes 193.3 million of revenues and 211.1 of expenditure. Total of all funds is operating in a net deficit, with general fund having a 9.4 million deficit as we spend down one-time funding expiring at the end of next fiscal year. And then we are also using some of our routine restricted maintenance account balance in line with the facilities master plan that was adopted by the board. The bond fund also show a deficit since we anticipate the district to start implementing the facilities strategic master plan starting in 23-24. So here is the overview of the 2023-24 financial summary. This is the revenue. This is how we break out the 193.3 million revenue. 56% is coming from LCFF with base grant at almost 78 million, and then about 30 million in supplemental and concentration grant, which is what the LCAP goals and action would be, which would be funding the LCAP's goals and action that Ms. Pinedo just presented. The federal revenue is about 24%, which includes 20.3 million of one-time resources coming from ESSER and connectivity grant. This is about 44% of the federal revenue. It's one-time in nature. The state revenue share is about 15.3, which includes lottery with ongoing ELOP accounting for almost half of it. And Prop 28 arts program has also been factored in. The local revenue is about 4%. It's mostly really the special ed AB 602 revenue. It's just showing in the local revenue just because it's a pass-through from our SELPA. The SELPA gets the AB 602 revenue, and then they in turn pass it on to us. The 23-24 expenditure estimate, majority of the 211.1 million of expenditure is spent on salaries and employee benefit. It is, however, important to note that in 23-24, the district books and supply as well as the capital outlay budget are elevated. This is in anticipation of the school modernization effort that the district is planning in 23-24. This includes expenditure that is part of the facilities master plan implementation and classroom modernization initiative. So in the next few slides, we'll be focusing on the general fund, which is the main operating fund of the district, which accounts for about almost 90% of the district's budget. The unrestricted accounts for approximately 34% of the budgeted expenditure. Normally, the unrestricted accounts should normally show a higher portion of the budget. But due to the one-time federal as well as the new ongoing state revenue, restricted funding now accounts for a bigger portion of the budget. The general fund has a total revenue of 169.3 million and an expenditure budget close to 179 million. This includes 19.9 of ESSER, 13.9 million of ELOP funding, and in the general fund, salaries and benefit, just like in the overall district, accounts for the majority of the expenditure. 52.7 is a contribution from the unrestricted to the restricted program, which includes 33.9 million of LCAP action and services, and the add-on K3 CSR class size reduction funding from the state. It also includes the district support to cover special ed program of about 13.3 million, and it also includes the 5.5 million, the required 3% contribution of about 5.5 million for the routine restricted maintenance program. So let me go to LCFF. LCFF makes up for majority of the district's general fund revenue. The base grant is generated by all students and has no spending restriction. The supplemental and concentration grant is generated by unduplicated pupil who are defined as the English language learner, foster youth, and students from low-income families. These funds must be used to increase and improve services for the unduplicated pupil population. As the district also implements the Universal Transitional Kindergarten Initiative, 23-24 revenue includes an add-on of about 3,000 per ADA for TK ADA. The TK class sizes remains at 12:1 adult to child ratio. I think in the district we have approximately about 7 TK classes. So those are instead of 24:1, which is your normal K3, TK is at 12:1, but it's an adult to child, not a teacher to child ratio. There's a distinction behind it. Initially, it was expected to go down at 10:1 this next fiscal year, but because of the funding, how they funded the TK, they retained the 12:1 because the state didn't give us as much to actually cover it. Not that the 3,000 covers the class size ratio right now for TK.
May I ask a question at this point? How do we determine the income level? Because I see it says low income. How do we do that?
So there's actually a standard for the low income. Every year, the federal poverty range, they would publish the income range. So if you're a family of 2, if you're a family of 3 or 4, they would actually publish the income eligibility. And every year, we have a base year, which I'll talk about later, about unduplicated count. But for every new students, we would ask them, there's alternative income form that we ask our families to actually fill out for each of our new students. And then, and for everybody to fill out when it's a base year. And then from there, we would then determine whether we could qualify, they could qualify as a low income family. Then we get a little extra, we would get extra funding for them.
Thank you.
So this is just a different way of slicing the the LCFF. So LCFF actually is being funded or being the source of funding is the state aid, the education protection account, and the local property taxes, which accounts for about 36% as a source of LCFF. So changes in the EPA or the property tax collection is backfilled by the state aid portion. When these two factors decrease, the state aid will increase. So this is fresh off the last Friday, CDE actually just sent out a communication that due to the shift from April to October, the final EPA for 22-23 is significantly lower. So although the state aid portion will technically cover, so if the education protection account is not 21 million, say it's 20 million, then the state aid portion would go up. However, this also means that there's going to be more budget pressure to the state general fund because the state aid is funded from the state general fund. So the proportionate factor share is now at 12.75%, which is about 4.1 billion in the state level, which it used to be, or it was planned to be, at 45.22%. Which is about 12.6 billion. So that's at 8.5 billion decrease in the state level. So that means across the state, the general fund for the state aid portion would probably have to take up 8.5 in addition to what they were planning for in the May revise. So it's kind of we're monitoring the situation because in my succeeding slide, you'll see there are certain assumptions that the state did in building the 23-24 budget that could potentially impact what we would see in the enacted budget in maybe 2 weeks. So LCFF also includes transportation revenue, which include COLA adjustment. This 23-24 is the first year that we would see the LCFF transportation add-on actually going up. There's For the first time since LCFF began, there's now a COLA associated with the transportation add-on. However, this continues to be not enough to fully fund the district transportation cost, which is at about 2.4 million. But starting in 22-23, to give the state their dues, they did try to fund transportation a little bit by allocating the difference between the 60% of the prior year cost less the transportation add-on. This revenue has been reflected, revenue estimate has been reflected in our 2022 and 2023 revenues, as well as the 23-24 revenues that is before the board tonight. So this is the multi-year projection. The district is required to present not just a single budget, but two succeeding out years as well. Please note that we project to see a decreasing trend in the district reserve as we go through to the next two out years. In 24-25 and 25-26, the out year projection assumes the use of learning recovery as well as the arts, music, and instructional material discretionary block grant to help the district meet its 3% reserve requirement. However, there's still a need, or there's still an action for the district to actually start addressing its structural deficit. In the succeeding slide, we will see the different factors that impacts the district finances. So this is like the different factors that impacts the district budget. So there's external factors like the economy, and economy translate to our share of education share, which is the Prop 98. And there are also internal factors that impacts the district budget. In the succeeding slide, we'll be discussing this factor in greater details, as it is important to know what they are so that the district is ready to prepare mitigation strategies if needed. So let's look through the future. Declining enrollment will continue to be a problem for the district, unfortunately. So 22-23, the district CBED's enrollment showed a decline of 3.2%, which is about 232 students. Using the demographer's enrollment study that was presented to the board in a prior board meeting, we continue to anticipate declining enrollment in 23-24 budget and the next two out years. District enrollment would hit below is expected to hit below 7,000 students by next fiscal year, which is 23-24, and is projected to go down below the 5,000 student range in 10 years, which is the 2032-33 year. We would continue to monitor and update enrollment projection as new data becomes available. The next official enrollment numbers to see the trend will be on the 23-24 CBED's data, which is happening this October. So aside from declining enrollment, another main focus, which is not just for the district, but which is the rate at which students attend school. It's almost like in Sacramento, it's like becoming the star of the show. At the state level and the district across California. Attendance rate in 22-23 have rebounded, but only marginally and nowhere near the pre-pandemic attendance level. Although we have attendance rate that are higher than the state averages. So the state had an average attendance pre-pandemic of 95.1. We were at 98.7. In the last enrollment, in the attendance rate in the last P2 for 22-23, the state's attendance rate was at 91.9, and we were at 96.6%. Just to put it in context, fiscal context, so for every 1% increase in attendance rate or decrease in attendance rate, it translates to approximately 700,000 just on base grant alone. So imagine what we're losing, not just the 700,000, but probably the supplemental and concentration portion of it as well. So for the this is now the unduplicated student percentage. So for the last few years, the district have experienced a decreasing trend in the unduplicated student of about 1% annually. 22-23 was our last, like this year was our base year, and we received 87.5. We were about like almost 95% at one point. So although there's a significant drop in the 22-23 unduplicated count percentage number. The revenue impact is slightly delayed as LCFF formula uses a 3-year rolling average in calculating the unduplicated count percentage for the supplemental and concentration grant. We should see the full impact of this decrease by 25-26. The budget assumes that the drop is flattening at 86%, which we will continue to monitor. We did not assume that it's going to go further down than the 86%, but we'll update the budget calculation as we see more enrollment trend. And then the next base year for the district would be the 26-27 fiscal year, which is not part of our budget window, but next June, it's going to be, right?
Margaret, can I just add a comment here? I think it's important to note as we continue to plan for the future that this trend here is not a result of economic mobility or just an economic strategy in the community. This is really the declining enrollment and the impact that it's having on some of the most vulnerable families that we have. And so, I think there's going to be some opportunities in the months to come for us to discuss as a board how we continue to offer services to our school families so they can remain whole and also just really have that stability that they deserve. Thank you.
So here are some of the other planning factors that the district used in building the 23-24 budget. Salaries and benefit continue to account for majority of the district's budgeted expenditure. The table shows the salary increases for the last 10 years with, if you notice, with the two most recent salary increases showing higher than the average of the prior year. Pension contribution rates for CalPERS is expected to increase with CalSTRS remaining constant just because it is based off of statute. So our CalSTRS rate is based off of statute, not because CalSTRS is performing well in their investment strategy, but it's because it's in statute. It takes legislative action to actually increase the CalSTRS rate, while CalPERS, every March when they meet, the CalPERS board meet, they would adjust it based off of the investment results so that they could go through fully funding the pension liability for the states, for the entire state. So also included is that with declining enrollment, certificated salary FTE is expected to decrease but may be partially offset by additional grade levels added to our dual language program for both Spanish and Chinese cohort. So 23-24, there's a slight increase in certificated FTE adjustment due to declining enrollment and as the district continues to review enrollment and classes across the school site. This is actually a little lower than, it's not lower than expected, but it's actually lower number already because the district made a conscious decision to actually break out some of the combo classes. This could have gone as high as probably a negative 17 FTE. But the district, as a result of the review on what's best for our schools, did it so that's why we only have 13 FTE decrease in our base. Okay, so next one. So the May revised revenue. So May revenue continues to underperform, forcing the administration, like the state, compared to, they did a shortfall, their shortfall last January was about 22.5 billion. So in the May revise, the state shortfall is now as high as 31.5 billion, with Proposition 98 guarantee decreasing from 108.8 billion to 106.8 billion. The statutory COLA, which is a straight calculation, they could not, I don't want to call it manipulate, but they could not change it. It's a statutory calculation. So it's at 8.13, it's now at 8.22. So part of the May revise shortfall increase solution that the that the state did was actually a trade-off. So in protecting the local control funding formula comes at the expense of some of the one-time funds that is reduced not in 23-24, but they're actually reduced as part of this current year budget. So I feel bad for the district who actually used the funding already. We're kind of lucky in that way that we're being very slow and strategic in spending it. But just an example, the reduction in arts and music and instructional material block grant is reduced from 1.7 billion to 1.2. This is about like 50% decrease. It used to be, we used to have a revenue of like 2.4. Now we're reflecting a revenue of 1.2 million. And then there's also the reduction in the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant from 7.9 billion to 5.4 billion. It's a decrease of 32%. So there's a decrease. We were getting about 15 million in Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant when we presented the budget last March. And now what's reflected is a decrease of 4.7 million. So it's about a 10 million. 10 million is what's remaining with the district. So there are other economic uncertainty that it's also like not yet embedded in the budget that we need to know it's coming or we need to watch out for. So this includes the tax deadline change from April to October, which makes it very hard for the state to actually project the revenue. It makes it complicated on like what revenue do they recognize in order to build their own budget. And then the other one, because the May revision does not contemplate any recession. So the Department of Finance did model the big three revenues in a moderate recession, and it could be, it could exacerbate the budget deficit by more than 40 billion. So like that's a straight quote from the governor. Should broader economic risk materialize, deeper reduction will be necessary. So we're just like really hopeful that, you know, it stayed at least stable. There's no new money, but at least it's stable. But we'll see in the next few months. The legislative analyst, it's also important to know that the Legislative Analyst Office, which LAO, their analysis report that the tax revenue that they're estimating for 21-22 and 23-20 through 23-24 is actually 11 billion lower than the May revised estimate that the governor is using. So, you know, it's almost like the LAO has their own analysis, and they're pretty good. Not to say that Department of Finance is not, but that's how big the range is of like the revenue uncertainty that the state is facing, which translate to uncertainty in the school district level as well. So majority of our revenue is actually coming from state funding. So education funding is dependent on the availability of state revenue. So in 1970-71, the big three revenue, which is personal income tax, corporate tax, and sales and use tax, is almost equal in proportion. However, in the recent year, it is estimated that personal income tax share is disproportionately high at 62%. This makes the state revenue sensitive to economic condition, thus making education funding not a little, but volatile. The share of education is fixed at approximately 40%, but 40% of a bigger or smaller or bigger revenue base makes a lot of difference. So this slide, I think I presented it multiple times from the budget in last June and first interim and then second interim. This one shows that we receive over 100 million in funding, but there's always a but. By the end of 22-23, we would have used up, we would have spent all of the CARES funding, ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and part of the connectivity funds, and a portion of ESSER 3. Then we are showing that by the end of 23-24, because it's a lot of the one-time funding is actually ending next year, we would have spent all of ESSER 3, the AB 86 in-person and ELO grant, and all of the connectivity funds. Then, by By the end of 2025-26, almost all of the district one-time federal funding, federal and state funding is expected to be fully expended, with the exception of the ELOP, which is ongoing, and the literacy coaches and reading specialist grant. This one, the only reason why we're not reflecting it as being spent is because we're still crafting the spending plans for this grant. So we would wait and see how the spending plan goes, and it's probably going to get spent a little bit of for next year and 24-25. So this one is, I like my graphs. This one is the historical general fund revenue and expenditure trend. So the blue line represents the revenue and the orange line represents the expenditure. So in 23-24, which is like the inception of LCFF, it's really like it's increasing because LCFF is gearing toward full implementation. This, I would say, are the good years because like we are getting funding, and although we feel the enrollment decline, it's almost like it's masking it because there was a ramp up in LCFF revenue implementation, right? And then in 2018-19, we were expecting, because 18-19 is the year that LCFF got fully funded. So we were expecting the revenue to actually plateau or maybe drop a little bit. But then COVID happened, so there was an infusion of a lot of one-time federal and state resources. So that's why you have a big jump in the revenue, and of course, proportionately, you have a big jump in the expenditure as well, but the revenue is higher. Then, now, all the one-time federal and revenue state resources have been allocated out. So there's a decreasing revenue trend, and the expenditure, it continues to increase because the expenditure drop is not proportionate to the revenue drop, and we could not just suddenly cut expenditure as fast as the state or the federal government could cut our revenue, right? They do an action and the revenue is gone, but for the district, there's a lot of moving parts to it. Okay, so this is my as I conclude my presentation, let me provide the fiscal data because I know I provided a lot of fiscal data, but let me put it in the context of what we did in the last few years in terms of like our action, right? With unwavering determination, our district has persevered through the different phases. In the period leading up to the pandemic, we proactively pursue program improvements initiative while anticipating a stabilization and gradual decline in revenue. The proactive approach taken during this period set the stage for our ability to actually adopt and respond effectively when the challenge of COVID-19 pandemic emerges. Then, during the COVID years, our district faced unprecedented challenges brought about by the pandemic. However, we respond swiftly and decisively to address the need of our students and ensure continuity of education, providing students with remote learning opportunity, ensuring that they had the necessary tools, resources, and support to continue their education from home. In addition to academic support, we recognize the essential need of our students. Our district made it a priority to ensure students have access to food. While everybody else was shutting their food services down, the district continued on and other necessary resources, acknowledging the impact of the pandemic had on their overall well-being. The infusion of unprecedented funding allow us to adapt quickly and address the unique circumstances presented by the pandemic. So in the last year and this year, as we transition back to a sense of normalcy and resume in-person instruction, our district was fully committed in addressing and mitigating the learning loss experienced during the pandemic. To tackle this challenge, we utilized the resources available to us with effort focused on implementing targeted intervention and support program that addresses individual student need. By identifying the areas of learning loss and providing tailored support, funding was aimed to bridge any educational gap that may have emerged during the remote learning period. So, in the next few years, or 3 years at least, as the district looks ahead, Even as the district continues enhancing the overall educational experience of our student, it is essential to acknowledge that the future funding may be limited. With this in mind, we must exercise careful consideration and engage in strategic investment. We need to prioritize initiatives that demonstrate the highest potential for long-term impact and align it with our district goals and values. And then lastly, beyond the budget years, after 24-25 or 25-26, the district fully acknowledges the significance of sustaining highly effective programs, particularly as one-time funding begin to diminish. By implementing a system of accountability, we will be able to identify areas of improvement, make data-informed decisions, just like how the LCAP showed, like the different data sets that we're looking at, right? And optimize the impact of our initiative. So through this culture of accountability, transparency, and continuous evaluation, we aim to uphold our commitment to providing quality education, but at the same time, we maximize the use of our resources. By doing so, we will be better equipped to navigate the fiscal challenges ahead. That it's coming, right? It's not like, oh, maybe it won't come, but it's really coming. So we need to build all the systems that we need to right now to make sure that we survive, while maintaining our focus on achieving positive outcome for students. But even with all of it's not doom and gloom, I'm still optimistic that the district would achieve every goal and aim. In the words of Winston Churchill, it's a wonder what great stride can be made when there's a resolute purpose behind them. And the district has that purpose, that what I could see anyway. So the next steps. So the board adopts the 23-24 final budget next week, hopefully. And then the governor signs the 23-24 state budget bill by June 30. It's required by law. If not, they don't get their salaries. So we should expect to see some of the state enacted budget, but the details might be trailing in. And as we close the fiscal year, staff would close the books for the 22-23 school year this summer. And in the August board meeting, we'll present a 45-day budget revision based off of the state enacted budget that's coming out this June. And then the unaudited actual financial report will be presented to the board in the September board meeting. So that ends my presentation. So if you have any questions.
Thank you so much for all that information. No, you presented so well and gave us a lot of that background information and then preparation for what's currently happening and then projections. Any questions from the board or comments? Okay, thank you so much.
Just a comment.
Yes.
It appears to me that we ought to do more to bring in more students. I was thinking of the population out there that are homeschooled, who don't know the kind of programs we offer. I was cruising the internet today and I found that Temple City Unified has a registration for out-of-district students. I don't even know what that is, but I'm going to consider finding out what it is. How can you enroll out-of-district students in your district? Do we do that?
There is a permit process for students that want to come into the district and for students that want to leave the district. So we do have that process.
Okay, we do.
And similar, we have something on our website. Parents can click
Okay.
on it. During the pandemic, we transitioned a lot of these processes to internet-based processes, and so that's why you see that. I mean, I can't speak for Temple Cities, but I'll speak for ours. Our parents can apply for permits via our website.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving along with our agenda, our next section is communications. Do we have any public or written communications at this time?
No public communication came forward and no written communication came forward.
Okay, cabinet reports?
This evening, we just wanted to take this opportunity to wish all of our district staff a terrific end to the school year. June 8th is the last day. We have lots of promotions, 6 of them, not lots, ahead of us. But we're really looking forward to celebrating the end of the school year and take this opportunity to wish everyone a wonderful summer, hoping that everybody is able to renew, rest, and enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know we have a board meeting next Monday, so.
Yes, we'll have a comprehensive update with all things end of the school year on the 12th.
Exactly. All right, next we'll move on to board member communications, starting with Ms. Cobian.
Thank you. I just, wanted to share how much I just have appreciated all of these kind of end of the year varying events. I was able to attend the Honor Band Festival, and that was just really special to see all the students coming together and hear the wonderful music and just all of the work and support that our music teachers have for each other. And it's really neat to see how collaborative it is. Also, I had the opportunity to attend the Volunteer Appreciation Lunch, which I'm so glad we were able to bring back. And it was really special to see all of the parent volunteers coming together and be recognized. So that was wonderful. And then just wanted to say also, I got to participate in one of the field days at my daughter's school, and it was really neat to see the students getting out and just the kind of celebratory atmosphere that everyone has. And I think the students are excited for summer, but I think they're definitely enjoying all these end-of-year activities. So it was really fun. And also echoing Dr. Garcia and wishing everyone a very great summer vacation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rivas?
Well, happy end of the school year, and congratulations to our retirees as well. I agree that the end of the school year activities are really one of the most fun parts of the school year, at least for board members who get to see the students and their various activities. At a band presentation, I heard several parents say, wow, how amazing. We heard them at the beginning of the school year and listened to them now. And that's just, I think, representative of a lot of things that are happening, not just in music, but in other classrooms as well. So a lot of enthusiasm for that. Of course, Run for Your Heart is one of my favorite end of the year activities. Thank you, Mr. Sallenbach, for keeping that going. There was a lot of enthusiasm. I mean, principals were into it, and the coaches were fantastic. And the best part is watching the students run around Peck Park cheering for each other. They've got 4 teams for each school, and so they're there supporting each other, learning what it's like to be part of a team in that way. I'll stop there. I'll leave it at that, and we'll just say congratulations to the students who are promoting, and we wish them the very best as they enter high school next year.
Mr. Segrist?
I am still impressed with the parent volunteer celebration. That was incredibly well done. It was almost like a Hollywood spectacular. They were so delighted that they had recognition at that level. Also, the teacher retirement, classified retirement, outstanding again. I visited a classroom where my grandson is first grade, Miss Trin. I encourage everyone to go to that class at Durfee and see a state-of-the-art classroom. I couldn't believe the beautiful work that those children have. Miss Trin at Durfee School, a lifetime experience. I'm still being, I can't say pestered, but questioned by a number of parents of Vietnamese culture who want to know when we're going to begin a dual language program in Vietnamese and English. I did some research today. I contacted Fullerton, Cal State Fullerton. They have a program that's linked with, I didn't know this, all the community colleges are connected to dual language teaching, and there are plenty of credentialed teachers out there, not only Chinese, Mandarin, Cantonese, Vietnamese, Tagalog. I didn't know there's actual dual language in Tagalog, and we have a lot of people in our community who speak Tagalog, and unfortunately, if they do not continue it, just like Vietnamese with their children, they will lose the language. The children will not keep it. My experience in the military was, I was chosen for special operations because I was proficient in Spanish, Thai, Laotian, and German. A lot of my colleagues, Hispanics, could not qualify because they had not had the education that we can provide our children now. And I'm being asked already, are we going to continue both Spanish and Mandarin on into 8th grade? That's the question I need to answer. Thank you. Again, I'm so proud of all the things our district happens to be doing, because I connect with other districts and I don't see they're anywhere near the level we are. So we can always applaud ourselves, but there's still more to learn, of course, but I'm so proud to be connected with our district. Thank you.
Thank you. For my board comments, I wanted to give a summary update on how delegate assembly went in Sacramento. So They actually provided a little summary that I'm going to read. So over 240 members of the Delegate Assembly convened in Sacramento for between May 20th and 21st, and it included over 70 new delegates. Myself represent the El Monte area, Region 23B, along with board member Florencio Briones from Monte City Union High School District and Adam Garanzan from Mountain View School District. The meeting featured a cybersecurity panel discussion. They really emphasized the importance of investing in our cybersecurity, especially with AI and how quickly technology is manifesting. And just already, we're just, districts across California are getting daily cyber attacks, right? So they really emphasize the importance of cybersecurity. We had remarks from Sacramento Mayor Darrell Steinberg on maintaining good mental health as an elected official. There was amendments to CSBA's bylaws, and then we participated in policy pillar committee meetings, providing CSBA with insights from the field around the implementation of Late Start. That was a really big one. They really wanted our input on how the law has impacted school districts. I will say there was more voice from secondary, as you can imagine, and how it impacted them regarding transportation. And a big emphasis was on sports and after school, and how it was impacting students with them missing instructional time if they were going to participate in sports activities. So that was a really big thing for wanting input from the different delegate members on that. They also provide a lot of updates, right? We have our upcoming AEC conference that's going to be in San Francisco, and they also talked about the fact that there was some nervousness with it being in San Francisco, right? But they just shared that it's actually part of the city. They have, I guess you would say, like liaisons that are able to walk with you from location to location. They're going to have shuttle service as well to the conference center. So they talked about that. But in terms of CSBA sponsored or co-sponsored bills, some that I wanted to bring back to you that they highlighted is the first one being CSBA's cybersecurity bill. Again, really big emphasis, AB 1023, that steers state resources toward helping LEAs, is now in the Senate after getting unanimous support on the Assembly floor. Because again, we don't necessarily have all the funding yet to really step it up on what they're seeing that's going to be happening with cybersecurity. Again, if they infiltrate, they're going to be able to access a lot of our student and staff records, right? Next, there is several mental health bills. There's SB 551 and AB 483 are moving as well, with SB 551 have moved to the Assembly and AB 583 on the Assembly floor. So those are numerous mental health bills. Specific to county offices of education, there's one regarding a minimum stable funding to juvenile court and community schools. The bill is now part of the budget discussion as Governor Newsom made it part of his May revision. And then NCSBA's AB 417 was also approved unanimously by the Assembly, is awaiting to hear in the Senate Education Committee. Stay tuned, as there are other bills dealing with teacher recruitment and the Brown Act moving through the process as well. And of course, just to emphasize, enjoy your summer. Enjoy the sun once it comes out after this doom gloom. All right, so we're now going to moving into our closed session. There's actually 5 items we're going to be discussing. We have closed session items pursuant to Government Code 5495 7.6, Conference with Labor Negotiators. Item 2, closed session for student discipline, EDCO 48915 on student expulsion. Item 3, closed session item, consideration of approval of expulsion, readmission, Education Code 48916. Item 4, closed session items pursuant to Government Code 5495-7, public employee performance evaluation of the superintendent. Closed session items pursuant to Government Code 5495-7, public employee appointment for Director of Student Support Services. At this time, we're going to go into closed session, and then we'll resume after that. Coffee. Okay, and we are back to resuming our Monte City School District Board of Education meeting at 8:07 p.m. Moment here. Okay, we are resuming our open meeting. During closed sessions, we discussed items 1, 4, and 5. No action was taken. For item 2, closed session for student discipline, Education Code 48915 on student expulsion. The district has recommended a full expulsion agreement for student in case SE 002.2022-23. Is there a motion to accept the full expulsion agreement for student in case SE 002.2022 for 2023?
I will make the motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Segrist. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we'll now do roll call. Ms. Cobian?
Aye.
Ms. Mendez, aye. Ms. Rivas?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Seegers, aye. Ms. Flores is not here today. The motion carries 4-0. And then for item 3, during closed session, the board voted to approve the reinstatement of case SE 004.2021 to 2022. We will move on to approval of minutes. We have the consideration of approval of minutes for the May 15, 2023 meeting. I move to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Segrist. Are there any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I abstain.
Okay. Any opposed? The motion carries 3-0. Next, we have public hearing. Item 1, public hearing for the 2021 to 2024 Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP, Year 3, and the budget overview for parents 2023 to 2024.
At this time, do we have any comments?
Okay. We have none at this time.
So we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 8:09 PM.
Okay, thank you. All right, next we have item 2, public hearing for the 2023-2024 adopted budget. I will open it up if there's any comments. Okay, no comments at this time. Close comments. All right, now moving on to our action and consent agenda. Are there any items board members would like to pull at this time to vote separately? Okay. I will now ask for a motion on the action and consent agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Cobian. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Segrist. Are there any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries 4-0. Next, moving on to our action agenda, we have item number 1, consideration of approval of resolution for the 2020 and 23 school year, number 44, delinquent tax receivables assignment.
Thank you, Board President and members of the governing board. This resolution allows the Monte City School District for their current year and the next 2 fiscal years to sell off our interest in property taxes that are delinquent, and through a joint powers authority that we've participated in since 2002, they're able to recoup the property tax, the delinquencies, and we receive at least 110% premium. So over the past 20 years, we've generated about $250,000 of additional revenue through this program. Obviously, the funding is pretty volatile from year to year. A lot of funds were generated during the Great Recession, but these past few years, it generates about $5,000 to $10,000 annually. And this is an action item that we bring once every 3 years. So with the last resolution being approved back in 2020, we're due to approve this one, so we have the ability to enter into the agreement with the JPA for the current year and the next 2 fiscal years.
Thank you, Mr. Herrera. All right, is there a motion for item 1?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Ms. Cobian. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rivas. Are there any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries 4-0. Next, we have consideration of approval of administrative appointment for Director of Student Support Services.
President Mendez Garcia and governing board members, it is my pleasure this evening to recommend Ms. Doris Tran for Director of Student Support Services. Mrs. Tran is a standout educator. She has been with the district since 1999. She began her career at Norwood as a kindergarten and first grade teacher. In 2009, she transitioned to Frank Wright School, where she taught fifth grade. On a personal note, I had the distinct pleasure of visiting her classroom at Frank Wright as a fifth grade teacher, and that's where I first saw Leader in Me in action. She later became the assistant principal at Potrero School in 2015. 2017, she became the principal at Cherry Lee School, and now she has served as the principal at Columbia School. I know she's only been there 1 year, but she has profoundly impacted the school's culture and the student outcomes. Mrs. Tran is just an extraordinary educator that consistently goes above and beyond for students, staff, and families. She firmly believes in the importance of providing comprehensive student support services. We've seen that in every assignment and role that she's taken on. And her mission in life is to ensure that every student can thrive emotionally, socially, and academically.
Congratulations on behalf of the Board of Education, Dr. Tran.
We need to vote first.
We have to vote.
Have to vote. Okay, thank you. I was just so excited. Okay. All right. Is there a motion for item number 2? For the
I will make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Seegers. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Cobian. Any questions or discussion?
I have a point. I hope we can continue and expand our golf program for all the children, boys and girls. I caddied for the top women professionals in the world, and I'm sure in our district somewhere there's a Mickey Wright, Beverly Hansen, or even a Tiger Woods. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries 4-0. Congratulations.
Mendez Garcia, we have a tradition where we like to invite people when they're first appointed into the position to just say a few words, and we just want to extend our congratulatory remarks once again to Mrs. Tran, not only for saying yes to this work, but just saying yes to kids and to families and to this community. So if you'd like to say a few words, Mrs. Tran, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you, and I'm very privileged to have this opportunity to be able to serve our community. I've been serving for 23 years, so my heart is in this community. So I thank you very much for this opportunity.
Okay. All right. Next, for item K, we have discussion session. Are there any future discussion items the board members would like us to consider for a future board agenda? We do have our next board meeting next Monday already. Okay, all right, then that adjourns tonight's meeting at 8:15 p.m.
Well done.